and then spell it for me, please.
Okay, my name is Paul Naasz, N-A-A-S-Z.
And your title?
My title is Farm Manager.
So can you tell us a little bit about the facility and why it was originally built? Just tell us about the history of it.
Sure. Well, Michigan State University has a great series of outlying experiment stations across the state. The Upper Peninsula Research and Extension Center happens to be the oldest, and it was started in 1899. It was developed here from a grant from CCI. Cleveland Cliffs Iron Company had come in and they had harvested all the lumber and the timber off of this particular area, and they wanted to see it developed for agriculture. So they donated $5,000 and a tract of land to Michigan State University, and the experiment station then was developed in 1899. It's kind of unique, you know, in 1899 they just kind of came in and planted a whole bunch of things, just about anything you can imagine: sunflowers, turnips, radishes, plum trees, pear trees. I think they used any kind of seed they could find, just as an initial screening to see what would grow here. And they've done a lot of work over the years. A lot of the pioneering work was actually clearing the stumps from the area so that make the ground tillable. And we've done a lot of things over the years, from draft horses to poultry to swine, sheep, vegetables. And throughout the years, it kind of landed and developed into a beef and dairy facility. They started milking dairy cows here in 1912, and had that program going for 98 years. And then about a few years ago, they decided to change directions, so the dairy cows were sold. And we're currently standing out in the field here with our beef herd now. And the new focus and vision for the station is going to be focused on soil health. And as we're standing here, we're seeing the cows out in the field, and one of the aspects of this new focus is to determine the impact that livestock have on the health of the soil in conjunction with the farming practices that are being carried out.
What do you think that the soil research and the cattle research and interlocking those two does for the community of the UP, for growers and producers who, you know, have cows and want to do agriculture in this region?
Sure. Well, I think the research center here in Chatham is very critical and very important to the Upper Peninsula. You know, the weather up here, basically, it's a climate difference. The climate up here is very different than it is in East Lansing, where Michigan State University resides. You know, we're 8 miles south of Lake Superior, so we get a lot of lake effect weather. And so things just grow differently and work differently up here. And it's very important to have a presence, a research presence in this area, to help the local producers determine what's best suited for this climate and this environment.
Can you talk to me a little bit about your responsibilities as the farm manager and how you work with Jason and the other researchers to carry out?
Okay. Yeah, as farm manager, I'm basically responsible for the day-to-day operations of the facility, so I'm kind of like an operations supervisor. Because we have livestock require care every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and they also require feed. So I have you know, responsible for the livestock. They're about...
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Kind of forgot where I left off. So yeah. So as you know, I'm farm manager of the research center here. So I basically am in charge of the day-to-day operations. So I'm like an operations supervisor. And since we have livestock here, the livestock require care every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So we have a staff that takes care of the livestock, and plus we also have to grow all the feed for the livestock. So we have a cropping program, and that we harvest all our own feed for those livestock. And so that's pretty much what I do, is just make sure that things get done on a daily basis. And then also the researchers, if there's a particular item that they need done, they would come to me and ask me to handle that and see that it gets taken care of.
And then can you talk a little bit about this project?
Yeah.
What it is?
Okay. So our new focus happens to be soil health. And so we have a kind of like a holistic farming system that's being developed, where it's going to integrate crops and livestock and see what kind of an impact that has on the soil health. That project, we're going to start that project next year. So to prepare for the initiation of that project, we took this area where we're going to put them research plots in, and we planted it all to a cover crop. And that cover crop contains 11 different species of plants. There's sunflowers, safflowers, crimson clover, mung beans, and several other different, sorghum sudan, several other different plants that have been planted in here. So we allowed that to grow up, and we're using it like a green manure, but it will not be plowed down. So we brought the cows in, and we're doing a concept called mob grazing, and we keep these cows on a very small area. We've got the cows right now about 300,000 pounds of livestock per acre, and so we move these cows 6 times a day. So we bring them in, they eat what they can, and they trample the rest of it into the ground, and that's where we get our green manure effect. So currently with these livestock, we're using them to enhance the cropping program and the soil health, and so they're moved every day, 6 times a day.
Explain what you're going to do. When you go over and when you set the gate, how does that work? You don't need to go there, but just explain what you do.
Okay, so when we move these cows 6 times a day, it's obviously very labor intensive, and we have to set up temporary fencing, and we're actually moving them every 2.5 hours. So to enhance that, we have what's called a bat latch, which is like an automatic gate. It's just a solar powered unit that has a timer on it with a spring gate attached to it. So we can set that to release that spring gate whenever we want. And so when that time comes, the gate releases, the cows hear the snap of the gate, and then they can move into the next area to be grazed. And so we can set that up. We can actually set things up a day ahead of time or in the morning to so we don't have to be out here outstanding in our field all day long.
Right. How many acres are planted again with the sunflower mix?
Okay, so with the cover crop, we planted the whole main field here, and there's a total of 120 acres planted into the cover crop.
And they go through 2.5 acres in a 2-hour period?
So when we set these paddocks up, we're setting them up so that on a daily basis, we're grazing about 2.5 acres per day. But we do that in 6 increments. So it's about 0.4 acres at any given time that the cattle are on. And that gives us that concentration of about 300,000 pounds of livestock per acre. I want to go on the other side, so I'm just going to go over here and, well, I think they've got it off. They're working on the fence over there, so they got it turned off. You don't want to touch this thing because it will knock you. So this is our bat latch, or our automatic gate, and you can see that there's a solar panel on there so that it stays charged because it's battery operated. And then there's a keypad that we can set the day and the time that we want this to go off. Right now the current time is 9:22 in the morning, so I want this to go off at 9:30. So I can just press the daytime, and it comes up job 1, Wednesday, 9:22. I set the time I want, and I press enter. and save, and we are good to go. Then all we need to do is